Hello, and welcome to the AI Affairs podcast. This deep dive is all about a new and, frankly, terrifying reality of AI-driven fraud. We're not talking about those old, clumsy phishing emails anymore.
Not at all.
We're talking about incredibly sophisticated synthetic attacks that can really collapse corporate trust and just dismantle the systems we use for verification.
That's right.
We're going to use the just shocking $25 million deepfake CEO scam in Hong Kong as our main example. It shows how AI has gone from a kind of novelty to a weapon.
A very sophisticated weapon of financial crime.
Exactly. It's targeting everything from corporate finance to consumer trust and even the infrastructure of our global identities. So the core mission here, the question we need to answer is, when seeing and hearing is no longer believing, how do we possibly protect ourselves?
A huge question.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We have to start with that incredible case. The $25 million deepfake corporate heist. This wasn't some small-time thing.
No, this was a multinational firm. Europe, the UK engineering giant.
Right, and it was their Hong Kong office that lost, what was it, $25.6 million.
It's 200 million Hong Kong dollars. An enormous amount of money.
And what's so fascinating here is how methodical it was. The deception was layered.
It was. The fraud didn't just, jump straight to a deepfake video call. It actually began with a suspicious phishing email.
Okay, so classic starting point.
A classic starting point. This email, it looked like it came from the UK-based CFO, the chief financial officer.
And it asked for
a secret transaction. And it was just unusual enough that the junior employee who got it, well, they did feel skeptical at first.
Wait, okay, so if the employee was skeptical of the email, that's the classic red flag, right? That's where it's supposed to stop. How on earth did the scammers neutralize that doubt so perfectly?
This is the scary part. They leveraged the power of social proof and the corporate hierarchy.
Authority.
Exactly. The employee was very quickly invited to an urgent video conference call. And on this call, they saw not only the CFO,
but others too.
Yes, several other recognizable senior colleagues, all of them discussing why this transaction was so urgent and necessary.
Oh, wow. So when you see multiple senior figures, any doubt you had about that first email just...
Yeah.
It evaporates.
It's completely overridden. The pressure to comply just kicks in immediately.
So the key here isn't just how good the AI is, but how it's used to abuse that corporate compliance culture.
Precisely. And the key revelation, which they only discovered about a week later, was that every single person on that call,
except the victim
employee, was a completely AI-generated deepfake.
Mm.
So convinced by these realistic visuals, this coordinated story, the employee went ahead. 15 transactions to 5 separate bank accounts.
And there goes over $25 million.
Just like that. Arab's chief information officer, Ram Gregg, he later clarified that this wasn't a traditional breach.
Meaning their systems weren't hacked.
Right. No systems compromised, no data was stolen. He called it technology-enhanced social engineering.
A good term for it.
And the critical takeaway here is that the scammers probably just used publicly available content.
Like what? Interviews, webinars.
Interviews, quarterly earnings calls, anything they could find online to train their AI models. Grieg even said that today, copying a voice or a video is freely available to someone with very, very little technical skill.
That ease of access is the real threat.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because this threat now goes way beyond just one company's finances. It's scaling down to the mass market and up to, well, geopolitics.
Absolutely.
Just look at the consumer investment scams. You can go on any social media platform right now, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and find these hyper-realistic investment pitches.
Using celebrities.
Using synthetic versions of celebrities. Yeah, we've seen them with Gal Gadot, Warren Buffett, E.L. Waldman. The videos are flawless. The lip sync is perfect.
But the promise is always the tell.
It is. They're promising things like 15% daily returns. I mean, it's the classic too good to be true promise.
And this shift to mass marketing is so critical. Regulators are estimating that nearly 40% of investment fraud complaints in 2024 involved some kind of manipulated audio or video.
40%. That's huge.
It is. The sophistication just fools the human eye so easily, and the sheer volume is what gets you. Fraudsters can push out thousands of these micro-targeted ads. You take one down.
And 10 more pop up.
Instantly. The problem for you, the viewer, is that the little artifacts we used to look for,
The weird blinking, the flat lighting around the hair.
Exactly. All those little tells are becoming harder and harder to spot. It's getting to a point where the only reliable red flag left is the content itself. If the deal sounds outrageous, the video is probably fake.
And the implications here go so much further than just money. I mean, on the geopolitical side, deepfakes are basically weapons for psychological operations now.
Present-day weapons.
We saw this in Israel, where a manipulated video of the former defense minister Yoav Gallant was accidentally aired on national television.
On Channel 14, yeah. During the evening newscast. That was a stunning moment.
How was it manipulated?
Well, the AI-generated deepfake showed Gallant speaking Hebrew, but with a clear and very noticeable Persian accent.
Oh, that's a very specific choice.
It is. It was designed to sow maximum confusion and erode public trust. He was delivering this politically charged line, something like, the U.S. will not be able to defeat the Houthis.
Just total destabilization.
Complete destabilization during a critical time. Luckily, the anchor on the channel recognized how suspicious it was and actually interrupted the broadcast mid-sentence.
So they caught it live on air.
They did. He called the video fabricated. But the fact that it even made it onto the national news shows you how close these attacks are to succeeding.
And before we move on to the more systemic stuff, we have to talk about the trust crisis in hiring. Because we're now seeing AI-generated job candidates.
Synthetic identities.
Complete with fake resumes, social profiles, and deepfaked video interviews, all just to get inside an organization. This is a whole other level of social engineering.
It really is. If you're hiring remotely, the person you're interviewing on Zoom might not even exist. Unit 42 from Palo Alto Networks, they've documented cases where threat actors, even state-sponsored groups, are using this to gain insider access.
So they're not sending you malware.
No. They're showing up on your video call looking and sounding like the perfect, most qualified candidate you've ever seen. The interview process itself is now a weak link.
It blurs the line between a cyber threat and an insider threat.
Completely.
Okay, let's transition to the invisible thief then. The long game of financial crime. Synthetic identity fraud, or SIF. This is much more patient. More insidious than a smash-and-grab deepfake.
It is. SIF is the ultimate creation of a phantom identity. It's a ghost that only exists inside our financial databases.
So how is it created?
It's done by blending real, personally identifiable information, or PII.
Stolen data.
Often stolen from vulnerable groups. Children, the deceased, the unhoused, and blending it with fabricated data. A fake name, a fake address.
It's like a Frankenstein ID.
That's the perfect term for it. And because it's partially legitimate, it is incredibly hard for standard fraud detection systems to flag.
And you mentioned children are particularly vulnerable here. Why is that?
Well, what really stands out is just how long the crime can go undetected. A child's social security number is 51 times more likely to be used for SIF.
51 times.
Because they don't have credit files yet. So the fraud can go on for years, totally unnoticed, until that victim finally applies for their first student loan or credit card. And by then, the fraudster is long, long gone.
It's a highly organized process, isn't it? There are stages.
3 distinct stages. Stage 1 is creation. This relies on raw materials, mostly stolen SSNs, and we saw a staggering 2.9 billion compromised consumer records just in 2024.
So there's a lot of raw material out there.
A lot, and these are often paired with illegal credit privacy numbers, or CPNs.
Okay, hold on. What exactly is a CPN?
Think of a CPN as a substitute social security number. They are often stolen or unused SSNs that are illegally marketed online as a way for someone to get a fresh start or a second credit file.
I see.
So the fraudster takes this CPN, combines it with their fake data, and there's your synthetic identity, ready for the next stage.
Which is the long, patient middle stage, building credibility for a person who doesn't exist. How do they even do that?
That's the nurturing stage. It usually takes 12 to 18 months. And the first step is completely counterintuitive.
Oh.
The fraudster applies for a small loan or a credit card with the specific goal of being denied.
Denied? Why would they want to be denied?
Because that denial forces the major credit bureaus to create a new legitimate credit file for that identity. It gives the ghost a digital home. Isn't that just a massive flaw in the system?
That is wild. The very system that's supposed to prevent fraud actually rewards them by creating a file for their fake person.
Exactly. Once that file is created, they build the history. They use tactics like piggybacking, where the synthetic identity is added as an authorized user to a real, trusted account that has a long, positive payment history. They also use something called credit washing, filing false identity theft claims to get any negative marks removed.
So they're gaming the system. They're using the rules designed to help real people to build up their fake identity.
Systematically exploiting them.
And then finally comes the payoff, the bust out. This is where they monetize all that patient work.
Right. Stage 3 is monetization. After months of nurturing, the synthetic identity has a great credit score, maybe 750 or higher.
And then they strike?
Then the fraudster executes the bust out.
Mm.
They max out every single available line of credit, personal loans, credit cards, and especially high-value auto loans with zero intention of paying it back. Then they just vanish.
Why auto loans specifically?
Because of the high value and the liquidity of the car, it can be sold quickly. Auto lending fraud exposure hit a record $9.2 billion in 2024.
And Saif was a big chunk of that.
$2.5 billion of it. A staggering 27% was attributed directly to synthetic identity fraud.
And we've seen this industrialized, right? With operations like the South Beach Bust-Out Syndicate.
Yes, they targeted luxury cars, BMW, Mercedes, using straw purchasers with fake employment records showing huge incomes, over $284,000, to get cars worth over $10 million in total.
So what role does generative AI play in making this even worse?
Gen AI is the supercharger for this whole process. Before, a human fraudster had to manually create believable fake documents.
But now,
Gen AI automates and scales the creation of thousands of these profiles at once. And crucially, it produces hyper-realistic counterfeit documents. Flawless fake pay stubs, W-2s, bank statements that can fool both human reviewers and older static verification systems.
And this fuels a black market.
A massive black market for fraud as a service on platforms like Telegram, where they sell everything from pre-made CPNs to entire application kits.
So, if AI is creating fake people and fake documents to trick our financial systems, what happens when that same technology, that synthetic face, is used to trick our global identity systems?
Then you have a real crisis.
Let's talk about the physical realm. Official documents like passports are now vulnerable through something called face morphing attacks, or FMA.
FMA is a surprisingly simple idea with just terrifying implications. An attacker merges the biometric passport photos of two or more people into a single image, a morph.
And this merged image, it can fool the system.
It retains enough visual data from both original faces to be accepted by automated systems and by human officials as belonging to either person.
And because that passport is legally issued, the system accepted the photo, it can be used by both people to cross borders under a false identity.
Precisely. This vulnerability was actually identified way back in 2004, but it was proven to be perfectly feasible in 2014. It creates a total crisis of trust in a document that's supposed to be the gold standard of identity.
So what's the fix?
The immediate need proposed by the IMARS consortium and European stakeholders is to just stop applicants from providing their own photos, period.
Mandate live enrollment.
Mandate live enrollment, exactly.
Yeah.
The photo has to be taken under supervision in a secure, controlled environment. Norway and Sweden are already doing this.
But what about all the morphed documents already out there? The problem then shifts to the border itself. How do you defend the gate?
You have to rely on technology to fight back. We need to deploy morphing attack detection, or MAD solutions. The best method is called differential MA.
How does that work?
It's where the potentially morphed image in the passport is compared against a trusted live image of the traveler that's captured right there at the border. The system is looking for tiny inconsistencies between the static photo and the live person.
And how effective is this? I mean, how do the algorithms compare to a human border official?
The results are pretty striking. The algorithms are significantly outperforming humans. The NIST Fate morph test looked at the hardest kind of morphs, the ones printed and rescanned like a passport photo. SecUnet's differential MAD algorithm detected 93% of them, with a very low 2% false alarm rate.
In the humans.
Human officials only recognized about 60% of those same morphs.
Wow. Why is the technology so much better at this?
Because the algorithm is looking at things the human brain is trained to ignore. It sees pixel distortions, compression artifacts, subtle blending traces that we just see as noise. When a person compares a photo to a face, your brain is trying to find the match.
Not the discrepancy.
Exactly. The algorithm is specifically trained to hunt for those tiny inconsistencies that the morphing process itself creates.
So if a MAD system flags a passport, what happens then?
Well, that's the big question. The suggestion is to have a secondary mandatory biometric identifier ready to go.
A fingerprint or an iris scan?
Right. Because the face is now vulnerable.
Hmm.
And it's worth noting the USA has already decided to include iris images in future passports, basically acknowledging that facial biometrics alone aren't enough anymore.
So what does this all mean then? For organizations, for individuals, we've seen AI industrialized deception, we have to move beyond just relying on human vigilance.
Human vigilance is insufficient. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need a multifaceted defense that spans across people, process, and technology. It's the only way to build any kind of resilience in this new synthetic world.
Okay, let's break that down. What does process look like?
On the process side, it's vital to mandate multi-channel verification for any high-value transaction.
Meaning if a request comes in on a video call?
You use a secure, predetermined second channel to confirm it. A physical phone call to a known number, a separate security app, something. Strict financial controls with multiple independent approvals are non-negotiable. And the entire framework has to be zero trust.
Never trust, always verify.
Always. Regardless of how realistic the person on the screen looks or sounds.
And the people part of that, we can't just tell employees to be more careful.
No, employee education has to constantly evolve. It needs to go beyond basic phishing training and focus specifically on deepfake threats. Staff have to be taught to pause, to verify, and to report.
And they need to be empowered to do that?
They need to be empowered to halt a multi-million-dollar transaction just because something felt a little off, even if it looks like the CFO is staring them in the face.
And finally, technology. We have to fight AI with AI.
You have to. That means investing in AI-driven detection tools to spot those subtle audio and video glitches in real time. But for SEF, for synthetic identity fraud specifically, it means adopting advanced AI analytics to move beyond those static rule-based checks.
What are those advanced analytics looking for that the old systems missed?
They're looking for behavioral signals, patterns that suggest an identity is being artificially nurtured over time. The old systems just check if a name, address, and SSN match at one point in time. The new AI analytics look for things like credit stacking velocity. How fast is this identity applying for credit? Or anomalous patterns across different lending systems. It lets you spot the ghost that's mimicking human behavior over months.
We've covered the alarming evolution of AI-driven fraud, from that huge $25 million deepfake CEO scam that just exploited corporate trust,
To the celebrity investment scams targeting consumers.
to the stealthy, patient threat of synthetic identity fraud that preys on our credit systems, and then the biometric challenge of passport morphing at our borders.
And the conclusion is, I think, inescapable. The ease and accessibility of generating this sophisticated synthetic media means that human vigilance alone is, well, it's just not enough to counter the threat.
It's insufficient.
Utterly insufficient. Organizations, governments, they have to combine these enhanced processes like strict multi-channel verification with advanced AI-powered defenses that can spot what the human eye just can't see. We have to question everything we see and hear now.
Because the digital world is getting very crowded with ghosts. And here's a final thought for you to take away. Given how easily public data interviews, photos, webinars is used to train these models, what photos or videos of you are currently circulating online that could be used as the raw material for a deepfake scammer tomorrow? Thank you for listening, and see you next time on AI Affairs.